All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. It's Pastor Dow. I made a video, but I took a segment out of this past Shabbat service and stuff, and I'm trying to actually show how that the Father has also allowed the nations to come into Israel and to also be a part of Israel. And of course, I receive both accolades as well as condemnation from different groups. And of course, that's neither here nor there, makes no difference to me. Still won't stop the work from going forward. However, I do need to say this because, a lot of people, they saw a lot of things in this particular video that answered a lot of their questions and stuff. But however, I do want to warn the nations. And the reason why I want to warn the nations is because you'll see teachings all throughout the internet. The internet is replete with those who want to be Israel, but they want to do away with the natural branches. They want to act like that there was no such thing as a natural branches. They want to act like that when they come in, that they have actually replaced the natural branches. That's kind of like, if you're in a family and then you end up being adopted, you get adopted into that family, but you don't receive the same inheritance as the original family does. And of course, in America, we have learned how to spin doctrines, and we learn how to spin traditions. We learn how to even spin the word to suit whatever culture we're in, and while we truly ignore. Now, all my life, I grew up in the country here in America, believing that Jesus was white. I even believed that the Israelites was white at one time. But when I started doing my own research, when I became a man and I started reading the Bible for myself and reading it, it became obvious to me, and I'm going to say very painfully obvious, that we've been lied to. All the way to the doctrines that black men were cursed with black skin, and which was originated by the Europeans. Throughout and even history, we just flat out been lied to. And so if someone really truly is honest with reading the book, I don't know how people can be so arrogant to think that you can actually do away with the natural bloodline descendants of the Israelites and then think that you can move in and now Yah has replaced the natural branches with you. It's just nonsensical. And there are a lot of nations that's trying to do Israel, trying to play Israel. That's the reason why their word carries no power. And that's the reason why they themselves have no power. Is because whenever you boast against the natural branches, you actually do a dishonor and a disservice. It's obvious. And some people say, well, Pastor Dow, why do you put emphasis on Israel being a black nation? Because the conquerors, the occupiers of this land, as well as the conquerors of the known world, have put emphasis on making sure that they paint the images of the ancient icons white. They have made sure they have whitewashed history and replaced all the glory of antiquities with themselves, which is crazy. Now, you have to understand, Pastor Dow is not the institution which has reared you in all these lies and fairy tales. I didn't teach you about Christmas and Easter and Sunday and how that the church fathers, Marcion, Tertullian, Ignatius, Origen, Eusebius, Philo, Josephus, and all these other people and stuff have actually transplanted, and they have actually become the source of truth rather than Moses and the prophets. No, that wasn't me. That wasn't me at all. I didn't teach you that. Nor have I ever taught you lies, and I won't do it. But I think the problem is that when you really truly look at history for a fact, and you look and see what the Arabs have done to the ancient Israelites, I'm going to deal with modern history within the last 1,000 years. You look and see what the Europeans have done to the true bloodline descendants of Israel, there's a guilty conscience that comes with them. And of course, they know exactly what is done. And of course, a lot of times the whites, they feel the pain of that, but at the same time, they don't want to actually admit that they were the descendants of the people who've done all these atrocities. But yet still they want the blessings of Israel. Now, when you read the commandments, anytime your fathers and them have done some type of sin in the law, I mean, just think about the 10 commandments. He visited the iniquities upon the children until the 3rd and the 4th generations of them that hate me, but he showed mercy unto the thousands of them that love him and keep his commandments. There are things that many of you Europeans, while you may have tried to put distance and disagree with the atrocities of what the Europeans have done to the tribe of Judah that was brought over here in the Western Hemisphere, many of you don't distance yourself from the benefits. You don't distance yourself from your position in this earth right now. And there's not many of you that actually act like Cornelius. There's not many of you that act like Zacchaeus. There's not many of you that act like Zechariah. I mean, that I can go on and on and on. But I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry for being painfully and brutally truthful and honest. Yah has never replaced his ancient people, nor has he ever forgotten his ancient people. Have Israel, the 10 northern tribes, done a great dishonor and disservice to the faith? Yes, they have. And they were in essence called Gentiles. And they intermingled and they mixed with all those cultures in the north. And then a lot of them, they come over here to the land of Asaroth, this commonly called America now. And you can see that a lot of Israelites end up with this long horse hair. How did they do that? Coming from a culture where they constantly mixed with the Shemites, mixed with Hamites. And they were black and dark-skinned people, which is obvious from the hieroglyphics in Egypt, which is obvious from history, even if you just read the Bible itself. And it's even obvious when Paul was even called an Egyptian. It's obvious that Israel, ancient Israel, were a black people. And I want to stress emphasis on this because it's a sad thing when you start removing the blessings from the people who are actually truly striving to enter in and to follow the Father, that you can transplant them, you can practice some type of replacement theology and just move them out of the way, and then you move into the blessings. The bottom line is this. The truth is, if you're really truly going to get the truth of history and culture, you're going to have to get it from a bloodline descendants of ancient Israel. Think about it. Was any of the prophets Gentiles? Did they come from another nation? No. And how much emphasis does Christ put on Moses and the prophets? See, there's much to be desired. It really, truly is. And I believe that this undertone of racism has made people arrogant today. Was Israel, that 70 people that went into Egypt, were they black? Yes, they were all black, period. Why does that offend you? And why does that hurt you? Does that move you from a position? If you decide to repent and receive the law, statutes, and commandments, these are the original people, not these Ashkenazi Khazarian Jews or anybody else who's trying to practice, you Christians that's trying to practice replacement theology, including you Israelites that think that you can boast against the natural branch. You better go back and read the whole entire word again and see what the Father says. He has not forgotten his people, which he has foreknew. As a matter of fact, I'll read you a little bit of Romans 11, start at verse 20. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by faith, be not high-minded, but fear. And that's what a lot of you Europeans are. You are high-minded and you don't fear. You get pretty arrogant. For Yah spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare thee not. Behold, therefore, the goodness and the severity of Yah on them which fell severity, but towards thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou shalt be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in as Yah is able to graft them in again. For if thou were cut off from the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted in contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be of the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits. That blindness, in part, has happened to Israel, not Gentiles. He's talking about that one family that came into the land of Goshen and came out when Yahweh delivered them out of Egypt, Mizraim, over 1 million something people with a great and mighty hand. Sorry, but there were no white people there then. Go check me out. Go check history out. The blindness happened in part in Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Now also, the Bible over and over again, these European translations are amazing. Because one minute they're talking about nations and you can't, they make it very hard for you to put in context who is talking about at any given time. with all the twisting and spinning and warping. It's easy for somebody to read it and think, see, that's me too. But you have to read it in context of the chapter and of the people to find out who is it talking to at that given time. So I think it's pretty arrogant and proudful that you Europeans would decide to actually just throw away and cast off the natural descendants and think that Yahweh was going to give you a special place above them. It's simply not going to happen. You are deceived. And for you to go out there and to teach that its skin color doesn't matter. No, color doesn't matter, because all the nations in that region, when Yahweh came down on Mount Sinai, they all happened to be a nation of black people. There were no Romans. There were no Greeks in that geographical location at that time, i.e. meaning that there were no Europeans. And it's pretty sad that you can't even be honest about the situation. And it's pretty sad that it actually pains you to speak this truth, because somehow, somewhere you feel like you're not going to be included. But I tell you what, the prophets are pretty bold concerning Israel's place in the kingdom when Yah comes. So don't think because I'm revealing and delivering a lot of truths it may appease your mind. It may make you feel good. It really will. But the truth still remains, and the fact still remains that Yah loves his people. And he has never forgotten his covenant, because they are the ones who had the promises, the covenants. They are the ones. They're the ones who saw the glory. They are the ones. And he has never forgotten, and nor will he ever forget. And he's got a special place in his heart for his people that he has foreknew. And he didn't foreknew a nation of Greeks, a nation of Romans, a nation of Europeans, a nation of Arabs. He only gave it to one people. It's just utterly amazing to me what I see taking place. And how most people, I guess it's because of the condemnation, the guilt, the shame, and the condemnation from past history that really truly hurts them and pains them to actually truly admit it. Now you got people coming up with this British Israel doctrine and all this old other crap and junk and trying to replace everything. Now let's look at this. Judah was never divorced from the Most High Yah. And Judah is the lawgiver. And out of Judah is the law coming. And not only that, when Jesus came, he came to Judah. He didn't come to Jews like you read. He came to Judah. And it was our job to actually go. That's what Paul did. He was of the tribe of Benjamin. Judah consisted of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. When he went up to those northern tribes, it's obvious that there was intermingling and mixing that was going forth. And so Paul would go up to there to get Israel, the 10 lost tribes of Israel, the tribes that were scattered during the time of Jeroboam and Rehoboam. You know what I mean? Jeroboam led these people off into paganism, and Yah gave them a divorce, a bill of divorce. And so he sent his emissaries to go get them. And then there were Gentiles that believed. It's obvious because Timotheus' father was a Greek. And Nicholas, who was also a proselyte in Antioch, was a believer in the faith. And they were grafted into this. They were in this. So I'm not one on the other side that says that white people can't be saved. And I definitely am not on this side over here where these people say that black people are cursed with black skin. I just think it's everybody has a mouth and it moves. But if you're really truly going to find out who's a real teacher in Israel, only Yah can give you the ears to hear. And you're going to have the faith. You're going to have the word. You're going to have the faith. And then there's fruit that's going to follow from it. And of course, Jesus gave you the hallmark sign. I don't care what translation you read. Jesus gave the hallmark sign of who believers are today. And mind you, when you come over into my people's culture, the ancient Israelites, you can't keep your pagan Gentile customs of uncovering your head, women, and dressing in tight pants and tattooing yourself up and all this. No. You learn that mess from nations. You don't come over to our culture trying to change it to suit your gods and your coexistence with it. No, you come over here to actually become an Israelite, not to teach an Israelite how to be an Israelite. You need to be taught first how to be an Israelite. So don't think because I'm revealing a lot of truths that that puts you on what you'll call an equal footing. There's neither Jew nor Greek, bond nor free, but you need to go back and see how the Father speaks. There is an inheritance that everyone is going to receive. You better believe it. But there are certain inheritance. Somebody is going to have to serve in his kingdom. What your mind should be is to obey the law, statutes, and commandments and thank Yah that he's taking you away from these strange gods, taking you away from all these deities and mighty ones and brought you in. But I tell you, it's a great dishonor and it's a great injustice when you're trying to transplant and move ancient Israel, bloodline Israel, away from their culture, their heritage, their language, and their nationality. I'll finish with Romans 9, and I'll start at verse 1 so we can put it in context so it doesn't deceive a lot of people, because I'm not planning on trying to deceive anyway. I just think that there are a lot of tricksters, a lot of hoaxsters, a lot of philosophers, and a lot of vain deceivers out there, a bunch of them. So the apostle Saul, who you commonly call Paul, remember he was the one that was mistaken for an Egyptian, and people say that the Bible don't talk about color. No, an Egyptian was black. Egyptian wasn't what you see today after the occupation of Titus and Vespasian and the Romans after 70 AD when they occupied his land. And history is just, you have to be a history buff. Anyway, I say the truth in Christ and lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, for I have great heaviness and continued sorrow in my heart. For I wish that myself were accursed from Christ. That's what Paul said. He said he wished himself were accursed from Christ for my brethren. There's not somebody coming in for an adoption. There's not someone that's of the family. He's talking about his brother and himself. For his kinsmen, according to the flesh. Now, you can be adopted and come in and stuff, but that doesn't mean you come from the same flesh. And that's what Paul is telling you. Who are Israelites, who pertain of the adoption, the glory, and the covenants. And you have to look behind that word adoption, because the adoption has to do with those who had a relationship with the Most High Yah, and those who were Israelites that went away and went off into paganism, and then they had to come back in because they were essence Gentiles in the flesh. And then it also pertained to those who were there, the mixed multitude as well, that at that time received that. All right. So who pertain of the adoption, the glory, the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of God, and the promises. Now, who was there on Mount Sinai? You need to ask yourself a question. Who was there that heard the voice of the Most High Yah? Huh? Whose are the fathers? And look at this. And of whom, as concerning the flesh, concerning the what? Flesh, Christ came. Who is over all, God bless forever. You know what's amazing to me? The issue of flesh and blood never comes up. Never ever comes up until we start identifying who the ancient Israelites were according to what the Bible says. While the white Jesus was promoted, and it's been a lie all these many years, and this false British Israelite doctrine has been promoted, and all these people have been practicing replacement theology, I didn't see the whites on that side screaming and hurling to the rooftop that you're not the ancient descendants or the bloodline descendants of ancient Israel. But the blacks are. Now all of a sudden, they want to scream and holler that it makes no difference. And I'm going to tell you something. To deny Jesus that has come in the flesh is the spirit of Antichrist. And that is a fact. So there's a great, great injustice that is going on. And it's still going on. As long as history is whitewashed, it seems like it appeases the white people and they're fine. But the truth is, for me, knowing who I really truly am, it's a liberation. It's a satisfaction. Especially now that I can read and write from the very culture that actually made sure that it was against the law for me to read and write. And many of my people were hung and killed and lynched for reading and writing. It sure is nice to know who I am. And I thank Yah that he has never forgotten me, which I foreknew. So because you're grafted in and you're part of Israel, don't boast against the natural branches. I'm just giving you a fair warning because I don't have no heaven and hell to put you in. But Yah's word is true. I mean, it is true. And I would hate to see that you had this attitude and developed this attitude and kept this attitude and then let the breath go out of your body and you've never even blessed someone like me that's preaching you the truth, a real true Israelite. And you got this whole world giving, you got the United States of America giving $11 billion plus a year to these people who are acting like they're Israel and they're not. They're a bunch of pagans. And they won't even give reparations to my people where they've done all the injustices from. It's amazing. We go and rebuild Japan after we bomb the hell out of it as a country. And we give them not only reparations, but we make them a superpower in the earth economically. We go and tab Korea, and we turn around and rebuild it and put a military presence over there. I'm just utterly amazed at the hypocrisy that is literally going on all across this world. And believe me, I know about the Trans-Sahara slave trade. I know what you Arabs have done. And the reason why I talk about this one, because this is the hemisphere I'm in, and this is the captivity I was involved in, but I'm not ignorant of the captivities that has taken place. You just heard the truth, and the truth straight way. But if I was you, because now you can be accepted in the family, don't bring your pagan traditions and customs and your replacement theology, because one day you're going to have to answer to the Father for teaching and preaching lies. That's what the scribes and Pharisees was doing. And I hope it's not you. But I hope more than anything that you do get the revelation. And remember, he said to Abraham, I will bless them that bless you, and I will curse them that curse you. That means that falls on me, because I'm an ancient descendant of the ancient Hebrew Israelites from the tribe of Yehuda. That means I could have come from Judah, Benjamin, or Levite. All you have to do is pay attention. If you don't know me by fruits, then pay attention to the very work's sake, because it does testify of me. Shalom, Mispocha. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. The King is coming.